Welcome to 2 Cents Short of a Dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz. I'm Rue. Devin Haney, Regis Prograis. They lit the internet on fire. It's been a lot going on. First things first, even before we jump into the press conference, Regis Prograis put something out there that said Devin Haney, early in his career when he was fighting in Mexico, which we know confirmed he's been doing that, but it's something that Tank gave him flack about as well, fighting in Mexico against, I guess, not the best of opponents, as you would put it. But Regis saying Devin took, it sounded like losses, so at least more than one loss over there. And he's saying they forked out the bread to get them losses removed. So what do you think about those comments?
When he first brought it up, I was kind of like, I first saw it on Twitter. I think he posted it on Twitter, and then he brought it to the press conference, and Devin Haney addressed it. It was like, come on, like you serious? Like, you think that's what I did? Like, I mean, I think it's just he say, she say. I don't think it's true. I mean, we will need evidence, like hard evidence, in order to kind of prove that to be true, because I don't see anything else or any other variables, elements that points towards that being the case. And look at the talent that Devin Haney is, right? Like, he's a great talent, right? So he's here now. Now, if he actually did do that and that end up being tossed underneath the rug, that's crazy. That's like going to be one of the worst scandals in boxing in recent times that got revealed. But I don't think it's true.
Yeah. So two things, right, that I took away from this is that there's some like rumors that you just hear, you're just like, that don't make any sense. But it's some that's just too distinct for you to ignore. And this one is just too distinct and specific for me to ignore. I don't know if the story is 100% accurate, but I feel like there is some truth to maybe some weird stuff happened in Mexico. Maybe it was just controversial fights. Maybe it's fights that people thought that he lost, but he actually, but it's just too specific, like if Regis would have came out and said, yo, I heard you was getting knocked out left and right in Mexico, getting hit with 30-piece combos like Teofimo Lopez said he did to you, then I'll be like, all right, that's too far-fetched. But something about this just sounds oddly specific. I'm not saying he lost, but there must have been some kind of controversy happening that stem this. But you know how stories go. I tell you a story, you tell somebody. By the time the story gets back to me, it's different than how it started.
Yeah.
So I could see that. But at the same time, even if Devin took losses in Mexico, right, he's still proven to be a very, very good fighter. He's still beating good fighters. Like, it wouldn't have changed nothing. If what is he, like 30-0 now? So if he wasn't 30-0, but let's say he was 28-2, what would it have changed if he took two early losses in his career? You know what I'm saying? He's still the fighter that he is today. He's coming off of the biggest win of his career, despite how we feel about that fight, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, at the end of the day, it doesn't even really matter. I think the only thing that matters is what's going to happen next when they fight this year, man. And I don't know, man. That press conference was crazy. I thought it was crazy. Maybe crazy for the wrong reasons, but it was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually happy because I think Devin Haney finally came out of his shell. This is probably the most I heard him talk and speak up for himself. Usually it's Bill Haney doing the talking, and we're like, man, Bill's talking too much. But this press conference, I think maybe, I don't know his name, so I apologize in advance, but the strength and conditioning coach, I think he was talking too much. What are your thoughts on, the press conference where they vaguely also brought up the losses and stuff too, but they brought up a lot more?
Yeah, just to kind of close up the losses. Yeah, the losses, it is one of those things though, like you mentioned, is one of those like oddly like there can be merit to it, but my only thing is like, why now, and why hasn't anyone else brought it up before? It has to be something, because I'm pretty sure Devin Haney's a big name. So if he brought out his losses, I'm sure someone else from the grapevine would have came out years ago, or would have, especially after the Loma situation, unless it's one of those situations where like, they paid the judges off to kind of get him to win, right? That happens already, right? So it happens on the big stage, as we see. But going back to the strength and conditioning coach, he was wilding. He was, oh my goodness. At a point, I was like, I understood, like, okay, but then it got excessive with the cutting off, constantly, yelling. It was getting a little excessive. And you could see like Regis' face also.
Regis was annoyed. He didn't even want to speak anymore. He was like, man, listen, there's some clown stuff going on up here, yo. But I'm happy Devin finally stood up for himself. He didn't just rely on Bill to talk for him. he was like, yo, who are you, man? We don't even know you, bro. Like, yeah, you're not even a real coach, man. Where your real coach at? You know what I'm saying? So, and I thought it was funny. It was comical. Don't get me wrong. The strength and conditioning coach was funny too. I just thought he was wilding, you know, because he wasn't really giving the fighters a chance to talk. It's like, he was like, this is my moment. Nobody, you know, I'm just strength and conditioning. I'm not like the head trainer. This is my moment, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to run with it. You know what I'm saying? And Devin Haney's like, come on, your job is to tell him to do push-ups, man. Like, stop it.
That's a
But
fact.
yeah, I'm not. He even out-talked Bill, which is not easy to do. It's not easy to do. Him and Bill was going back and forth. Regis was just really annoyed. It was funny, man. But the one like random side bit that I want to take away from it is, you know, I didn't go to private school. You didn't go to private school, but I don't think it's bad to go to private school if your people had the resources to give you a higher education. Yo, listen, more power to you. I don't think that's a bad thing. So for the guy to keep saying, Devin Haney, you're a private school kid, even though I know what he's trying to say, he's just saying like, you're not about this street life. But this is not street life. It's boxing.
Yeah,
it's boxing.
Absolutely. And people, whether you come from a background of private school or the streets or a non-private school, public school, that ain't gonna win you the fight.
Yeah, it's boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Not gonna win you the fight.
So I just think, yo, he was just going off on a crazy tangent. You know, I wanted to hear more from Regis, but I know Regis was just annoyed. Regis, you know, I'm pretty sure there'll probably be another press conference or something where we hear more from Regis. We hear Regis speak more, but he was very annoyed. But you know, one takeaway I have from Regis, he was like, yo, everybody's saying this is skills versus power. He was like, this is more than that. This is skill versus skill, except that I bring some power with me as well. So what do you think about those comments? Do you think it's just like a skilled fighter versus a brawler, or what do you think?
I get what Regis is trying to say, right? He has some level of skill, right? That's the reason as to why he's been a two-time world champion, right? We're not going to take that away from him. However, we know that within the skills department, Devin Haney is clearly the superior guy in that department, right? That's why it's like, okay, we're taking your highest attribute and comparing it to his highest attribute, but it probably just went over his head. So I think this is a situation where Devin Haney is the more skilled fighter. We know that, right? And Regis is the bigger puncher. Now we have to figure out as to how that will mesh in the ring, because Devin Haney's skill alone is not going to win him this fight, right? You know, whether or not, unless he's like far superior in skill, so much so that all the other intangibles just doesn't matter. But going against a fighter like Regis, Devin Haney is going to have a bit more, right? He's going to have some level of ring IQ that is not necessarily solely based on skill. He's going to have some tactics that he's going to have to employ. He's going to have some physical advantages in terms of, you know, his size. Like, you know, when they faced off against each other, Devin Haney was a taller guy, you know, and he seemed bigger than Regis as well. Now, Regis is training, right? He's been training. He started an early camp, but I don't know if that's going to play a role to kind of offset Regis's power. But you can crack. And that's a deadly, you know, that's definitely a deadly force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I do think people are like not giving Regis his credit. You know what I'm saying? These like, and by this I mean like people on the internet and stuff. I do think they're just looking at him as just, oh, he packs a big punch. But Regis is actually a really good fighter. And if you go back to what I think is his most challenging fight to date, the Josh Taylor fight, which was a close fight, you know, that was more than just I hit hard. And, you know, that was really a good fight. Regis showed a lot of different dynamics of his fighting game in that fight. You know what I'm saying? So I do think some people are overlooking his skill. But yes, of course, his power is his most known and biggest attribute, right? But yeah, like what you're saying, I agree with as well. I think Devin's gonna have to bite down. I don't know if he's just gonna be able to jab his way to a victory. However, I don't know. Quite, you know, some back end, you know, questionable politics stuff that we can get into that I'm not going to get into in this video. But I don't know if he's going to jab his way to a victory. However, the size, yes, he is taller. He probably is even bigger. I just don't think that's going to do anything for him. I thought, you know, he was the much more physically imposing man than Lomachenko, and it just couldn't do nothing. Now, granted, I think Loma's probably more skilled than both these guys.
That's what I'm saying. So
but I'm just saying, like, Devin couldn't just, like, you know, like bully him away. You know, that's what I'm referring to there. But
yeah, because Loma do got punching power too, so that also kind of favored.
Yeah, and then you know, of course, he's throwing from different angles. He's doing different things than Regis. But I just think the most interesting thing of this fight is Devin's going to get hit with the left hand, and we just got to see how he takes it, because this left hand is probably going to be harder than any left hand he's been hit with previously, maybe. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just referring to, like, because, you know, he showed difficulties blocking the left hand against not only Lomachenko but Jojo Diaz as well.
Yep.
You know, so I'm just saying, you know, we got to see what happens when he gets hit with this left hand. But I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think we're in for a really good fight. I'm excited to see it. I'm not gonna jump into predictions yet. I don't even have a prediction yet, just to be honest.
Me neither.
I got to really sit back and think about this one.
Me neither.
But I'll say this before we close out the topic. Devin Haney's putting on, man. I ain't gonna lie, he's putting on. He's making some good fights happen, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
He definitely is, you know.
Yeah.
And keep it coming, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, jump in the comments. Who you got in this fight? Devin Haney, Regis Prograis. How do you see it going? Yeah, this is a big one. This is a big one. I'm excited for this one. So like, comment, subscribe.